Gareth Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. It's good to take a call on the road user charges. Pretty hard act to follow. We've had comedy hour from Melissa Lee and then Chris Hipkins in the House. I'd like to acknowledge you, Mr. Speaker, all the new members. I'd like to acknowledge the new Transport Minister, Jerry Brownlee. I called the last Minister the Colossus of Roads, but I won't say what we'll be calling the new Transport Minister. Mr. Speaker, this country's facing a debt crisis, an unemployment crisis, and a climate crisis. And what do we hear from the government? We hear drill it, mine it, sell it, and the road user charges bill. I mean, Mr. Speaker, at a time when we've got so many important issues facing our country, this bill really does define tinkering around the edges. The Greens will be supporting it, however, because there is some marginal environmental and economic benefits accruing from this bill. I'm surprised that New Zealand First isn't supporting the bill. I think had they been here through the Select Committee process, they might have taken a different approach. But we are glad to be supporting this bill. But in the end, this is a story of missed opportunities. Mr. Speaker, Annette King asked a very powerful question, which is, are we going to see protests when their regulations are informed and the new road user charges increase? And Mr. Speaker, I say doubt it. I doubt it because we know the road lobby is the single biggest donor to the National Party. We know the government is borrowing $19 billion to pour into motorways benefiting truckies. This government's made decisions from the juggernaut heavy trucks through to delaying the petrol and fuel excise and road user charge rises occurring from rising international oil prices. If the trucking industry has a best mate, it definitely is the National Party. So I don't think we'll be seeing protests from the trucking industry like we saw under Annette King's watch. But when it comes to the regulations around small cars, those 200 small light diesels, I think we might in fact see protests, those small efficient diesels around the country, because what they are going to see is their road user charges increase. How much? We don't know, because that power is entirely up to the new Transport Minister to decide. What the officials in Select Committee advised us is it is going to be increasing. What we saw was essentially like a wealth swap between those heaviest trucks, giving the most to the National Party, I guess. Those trucks will be paying the least amount of road user charges, but it's those small, light, efficient diesels that are going to be paying the most. They might be paying around $32 extra over 15,000 kilometres. Not a huge amount. What we are seeing is that wealth transfer. The smallest, the efficient, the ones we should be encouraging to conserve our oil, protect our balance of trade, to enhance our economy, to reduce our emissions, protect our environment. Those small cars we should be encouraging, they're the ones subsidising. And I do use the word subsidising those heavy trucks which the government wants to protect so much. So, Mr. Speaker, we do support the bill for the reasons that it's going to be simpler. It's hopefully going to make a dent in that $120 million, that massive administration cost which comes from the road user charges. We support the switch to the maximum weight, and this is where our support really comes from, because when you have the trucks charged on their maximum weight, what we want to see is these trucks being used as efficiently, as fully as possible. So we don't see what we have at the moment, which is these trucks with numerous axles because of past flaws in the road user charges regime, being carted around the country empty because that's the way the road user charges prioritise it. We are glad the bill maintains the electric car subsidies. And I guess, we know all these issues, the balance of trade problems, the massive 16% oil imports, all the problems facing our country, but the government's only got 40 electric cars on our roads. In the end, this is a missed opportunity. This bill is older than I. We're the only country in the world with the road user charges scheme. We could have actually embraced innovation. We hear about technology, about information technologies this government's so-called embracing. But when it comes to embracing new technologies on this bill, when we could be using electronic monitoring, real-time charging, instead we're going away from a smart approach to a dumb approach. We're going to an averaging model which isn't going to send those incentives. A massive missed opportunity. We're not probably going to see an opportunity to reform this in a generation, in a decade. Massive missed opportunity. But we will be supporting it for the reasons I outlined. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to rise and take what will probably be the final call on the road user charges bill. And